Relationship advice. Updated. My 21 male girlfriend, 20 female, was violated while in the process of cheating on me. I don't know what to do from here. Original post. I've been sitting here for like 15 minutes trying to figure out how to start this. My head is completely spinning, my thoughts are just all over the place. I guess with the backstory, I've been dating Sarah, not using real names, for just under 2 years now. She has a close friend John, who she's known since she was a child. I never liked him. He was always a little creepy, blatantly flirted with Sarah for the entirety of our relationship, and made occasional passes that I was not comfortable with. So, cut to like 2 weeks back, Sarah and I were invited to a gathering/party by a mutual friend. I had a workshop for work that night so I couldn't attend, and with current circumstances, I was never inclined to go anyways. I didn't want Sarah to go either, but she was very adamant, and I guess I just didn't want an argument so I said fine. We ended up running into John later that day and he mentioned the same party, and asked us if we had been invited as well. My girlfriend told him she was going but I wasn't, and he got this weird smile on his face and said something along the lines of, "If you're going, I guess I have to go." Just something about his smile and way he said it, really rubbed me the wrong way. Plus, I didn't want to be possessive, but the idea of the both of them together all night at a party, did not sit with me well. After we got back to our apartment, I told her, a bit more firmly this time, that I'm not comfortable with her going to the party, especially with him there. She told me I was overreacting and shut down the conversation at that. I'm sure most of you can figure out where this is going. I went to the workshop and she went to the party. It got to be like 2 a.m. and she hadn't gotten home, nor was answering my calls. Naturally, I was incredibly worried. About an hour later, one of her friends called me and told me was found unconscious at the party and driven to the hospital. She was violated by John. After spending 2 days including that night at the hospital and talking with police, I took her home. She told me John spiked her, and dragged her upstairs where it happened in one of the bedrooms. House the party was at is very large. She was an absolute mess, she didn't want to go outside, she wasn't eating, had terrible nightmares. I did everything I could to comfort her through this process. I was devastated for her and hated to see her like this, but, and I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, I don't blame her for John forcing her, but I couldn't get the fact I tried more than once to dissuade her from going to the party, and specifically saying her being with John makes me uncomfortable, out of my head. I feel I could have done more to protect her, and she should have listened to how I felt. Important side note, turns out John is a literal living garbage. After her ordeal, we both felt it was best to get justice. There were substances in her system, and all the physical indications of force. We immediately filed a restraining order and the police opened an investigation. Within the span on a week after news had gotten, around 2 other girls came forward with similar encounter with John, so the guy is basically a serial offender. Cut to now, my girlfriend is still in no better shape than she was 2 weeks ago. She gets panic attacks out of nowhere, she's lost like 15 pounds and absolutely refuses to leave our apartment, even to seek therapy. I was committed to taking care of her and being there for her, but I got a call from one of my close friends Sam this morning. It was a long conversation, but it basically boiled down to him, as well as many others at the party that night, saw Sarah flirting with John the entire beginning of the party. According to him and people he had been talking to, she was at the very least matching if not being the initiator in these exchanges with John. He also recounts that she wasn't blackout drunk or seemingly that out of it, and worst of all, many saw her holding John's hand taking John upstairs. At this point I feel like I want to vomit. He told me he wanted the situation to cool down a bit before telling me, and was going to tell me after the party what happened, but with her being taken to the hospital under the circumstances, he didn't feel it was the right time. I decided to not assume anything and asked her about the specifics about what happened that night. She tried to tell me the same thing, that she was spiked and dragged to a bedroom. But when I told her what Sam had told me, the color completely drained from her face. She started to panic and I did my best to calm her down, but it was at least 30 minutes before she could catch her breath to speak. She was sobbing, but she was coherent enough to understand, and basically confessed to cheating on me. She said she was drunk, and hadn't been out for so long she wanted some adventure. She admitted she was the one that took John to the bedroom, and wasn't dragged there against her will. She kept apologizing and saying it was a terrible mistake, and that nothing else was a lie. He did force her. I believe the last part. As far as I can understand now, it was when they were in the bedroom fooling around when he slipped something into her or something like that, then he forced himself on her. I don't know what to do anymore. She was violated, but to me, everything before that was her still intending to cheat and actively cheating on me. I am devastated and I don't even want to look at her right now. I left the apartment and am currently at Sam's house. I don't know anything anymore. She lost her job to COVID, I pay rent for the apartment where her name isn't on the lease, and groceries. She's become completely emotionally dependent on me the past few weeks. If I do break up with her, she would have nowhere to go, and as much as I resent her, I don't want something terrible happening to her. Please help, I need advice, don't know what to do. Edit. There's been a lot of responses in a short time, so I thought it would be best to address some things here. First off, I've been made aware that 2 posts of somewhat similar situations have been posted to this sub in the past 2 weeks or so. I don't know what I could post here to prove this is true without exposing my privacy. So I'm sorry, but all I can do is give you my word. I'm just here looking for advice. I don't think this is something someone should be fantasizing for a karma farm, it's completely upended my life. Second thing is people questioning Sarah's account of the events. I didn't include every detail because I'm just trying to get my thoughts out, but her story matches the other 2 women who came forward in terms of the pattern of John's behavior. The 2 other women were also initially in a consensual environment before he spiked them and violated them. From what they've said and posted, a large part of the reason they didn't come forward was because it started as consensual, and they thought that would make them not be believed. I also didn't want to get too graphic, but the nature of Sarah's ordeal was very violent, and not something most anybody would consent to. So that may be why he spikes them first as well. She had and still has traces of large bruises around her neck and other parts of her body, as well as scratches and gashes. I don't really doubt at all she was indeed attacked. The substance found in her system was caffeine. While Sarah did enjoy partying, she never did anything harder than grass. Third, Sarah has been living abroad for school since starting college. Her parents have been made aware of the situation, but coming from a very religious background, while concerned for her well-being, aren't exactly being supportive, nor have put in the effort to come see her. She never had many close friends for as long as I've known her other than John. I don't know where she would go if I told her she can't stay at my apartment. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Wow, I think you need to step away from this relationship. At the very least she did lie and cheat on you. No matter how it ended, she did lie and cheat. I'm terribly sorry for how it ended for her, and I'm sorry she got hurt. There is never an excuse to force action on anyone, so I can't even imagine what she is going through. That isn't an excuse to cheat and lie though. Agreed, OP should likely end this since she fully admits to intending to cheat, although it is terrible what happened afterwards. It doesn't discount what she did before. However, and this is important, I believe that she will likely frame such a scenario as, my boyfriend broke up with me because I was attacked, and I don't think that this is a massive stretch, since she has already demonstrated that she can be deceitful through her unfaithfulness. In which case OP had better be prepared to be seen as the bad guy in the aftermath, as people will also likely side with her over him, all conjecture though. Probably going to be unpopular, but I'd say break up with her. What happened to her was horrible, but you shouldn't date a cheater. Rather than dating her, maybe stay by her side as a friend, get her into therapy if she isn't already. But yeah, that's not a good relationship to keep going forward. Not that unpopular apparently. Break up. Even though she was forced, she still cheated on you and lied about it. She probably has friends or family she can stay with and depend 100% on. That is not your job and it may lead to more resentment. Not to mention how she worded the lie. Not to overshadow the fact that in the end, she was attacked, but that definitely would have done something to you mentally, picturing your girlfriend unconscious and dragged upstairs, when really, she was holding his hand and guiding him upstairs. To think she would stretch a lie that far to cover up her cheating, really doesn't sit right. And now for the update. I needed some time to sort out the situation, but I did read most as many replies as I could, and I appreciate all the advice and messages, especially from those who had been put in similar situations as I guess I should start by clearing a few things up. First off, to everyone who thought my story had holes in it, it definitely did, and I'm sorry for that. At the time and even now, I was missing a lot of information and was filling in holes as best I could with what I had. I also didn't want the post to get too long, so I left out information that I guess would have painted a better picture of my situation. I'll try my best to include those missing details. If you're just interested in the update, skip down a few paragraphs. So, details about John. He is part of Sarah and I's social circle and lives quite close to us. Some of the behavior from John towards Sarah that made me uncomfortable throughout the course of our relationship included constantly making comments about her body, putting his arm around her every chance he could, asking her to go with him on trip to Europe last summer, just the two of them. Poking her front when she's wearing tight clothing, saying things like "I'm lucky I met her when I did," or "she would have been with him by now," etc. It's not any one thing, but an accumulation of everything that made me uncomfortable with her spending a lot of time with him. She never encouraged his behavior, at least when I was around, but didn't actively discourage it either. Despite me openly talking to her about my boundaries, she just brushed it off as them knowing each other for so long and being comfortable with one another. A few smaller details I guess were relevant I should mention. 1. We are not in the US. COVID, while still obviously an issue in our country, our area is relatively COVID-free, and everyone going to the party Sarah went to were part of our larger social circle. It was at a large condo a friend of ours was renting for the summer. It was not some open invite party with 100+ people. Still dumb, I know. There were 30-ish, maybe 40 people there, so in hindsight, yeah, no one should have been at the party to begin with. Lastly, clearing up both Sarah and I's financial situation. I am lucky enough to have my parents paying for my tuition whatever scholarships didn't cover, so I can focus my resources on just day-to-day living costs like rent, groceries, etc. Sarah, on the other hand, was pretty much thrown to the wolves after finishing high school. Her parents, like I stated in my edit, are very religious and very controlling, so they told Sarah they were only going to pay for her schooling if she went to a local college. She refused and came to my school. She lived in residency for her first 2 years, which was covered by financial aid. I got my apartment about a year ago, and with COVID and her not wanting to go back home, we decided it would be best if she moved in with me. Her finances are basically completely tied up on tuition and student loans, so I offered to keep paying full rent despite her living with me full-time. Actual update: oh boy, I wish I could say things have gotten more clear in the past week, but honestly it's been a total clusterfuck, and it's only gotten worse. I spent a few days at Sam's, reaching out to friends trying to get a clearer picture of what happened that night, before going back to talk to Sarah. I got told same story multiple times, that she was the one who started flirting with John and led him upstairs. I should say right now, in my first conversation with Sarah confronting her, she didn't explicitly say she had intended to sleep with him that night, she just confirmed she took him upstairs. She was basically having panic attack throughout the entire conversation, so I had a hard time pushing for clarity. So by this point in my heart, I was trying to find any excuse at all for her to save our relationship, but my mind was telling me that the relationship was over, at least for the time being. But as many of you commented, despite my obvious grief in losing a 2-year relationship, I decided I'd be willing to let her stay in my apartment again rent-free to at least the end of October, to sort out other living arrangements and support. I called her about 3 days after staying at Sam's, and told her I'm willing to listen to her side of the story, but I need the complete truth about everything, and she agreed. So I went back to my apartment later that evening. We sat down and I asked her about what really happened that night. She started crying right away, but not panicking, and told she had to tell me something about herself. Sarah has always been into the partying scene more than me. I've never really been comfortable around illicit substances and that environment in general, but I went with her anyways about once a month or so. Her, on the other hand, would have girls' nights out, and parties pretty much every weekend. Right at the beginning of our relationship I told her I'm not really comfortable being with someone that isn't involved with hard DUs. My brother has a history of addiction, and I've seen what it can do to somebody and the people around them. She told me that's fine since she only drinks and smokes grass occasionally. Well, it turns out for about a year now, she started doing harder stuff at parties when I'm not there, and her girls' nights were often just her and some from our social circle, John included, going to a friend's apartment to do shrooms. I was shocked to say the least, and I didn't even know what to think in that moment. I just tried to ask her more about what happened on the night she was taken advantage of, and if she was intending on cheating on me that night. She comes clean and tells me she did lead John upstairs, but swears she wasn't trying to sleep with him, but wanted D's. He told her it was coke, but obviously it was not since only fentanyl and alcohol showed up in her system at the hospital. She told me he immediately started coming onto her, but she tried to fight him off, but eventually she was too out of it to fight back. After consoling her for a while, I asked her what her relationship with John was really like before, and if they did anything together before what happened that night. She admitted that they made out a few times before around Christmas last year, but promised it didn't go any further than that. She was begging me to forgive her, and that she needs me in her life. That she just was in a rebellious phase, because of her upbringing. I didn't know what to believe anymore, and still don't, to be honest. I just was completely overwhelmed by everything. So I told her I needed to clear my head and left again. Sam was nice enough to let me stay at his place again. I talked to some of my friends she said she was doing substances with, and they confirmed. I was pretty upset at them for hiding it from me, but they told me she basically forced them to keep it a secret from me. It feels like so much of my relationship was a lie. She wasn't the person I thought she was, and she lied constantly for who knows how long. At this point, my mind is basically made up, so I call her and told her it's over, but she can stay at my apartment till the end of October, but only if she finds a therapist and gets help during that time. She basically lost it during the call, but my mind was made up, so I just said I'd be staying at Sam's for a while and hung up. I wish that was the last of the crap that happened, but literally a day after that I start getting spammed with hate messages and calls from friends, relatives, and people I don't even know. Turns out she's posted all over social media about how I was breaking up with her because she was violated, and was kicking her out with nowhere to go in these COVID times. She also wrote that I've been emotionally mistreating her after her incident, victim blaming her, and stopping her from getting a therapist. I'm completely lost. I'm furious, heartbroken, I can't even describe all the emotions I felt. I called her again that night, and told her she has 2 weeks to move out now, and I don't want to hear from her again. I had to spend the past week playing damage control, trying to clear my name on social media, calling friends and family. I was ostracized by co-workers, though luckily my boss was on my side. I was getting doxxed, death threats, my life basically fell apart. Sam, thank God, was completely understanding through all of this, and said I could stay at his place until Sarah moved out. She's moving out on Friday, but I don't want to go back to that apartment anymore. I've had to cut out friends. My reputation is now in the dumps. I lost the first and only person I've ever loved. I don't know anymore. I low-key want to die, but I'll find a therapist sooner or later. I just feel numb to everything. I don't even know if I'm right or wrong in this situation anymore. I hope I haven't rambled on too much. I know this post is really long, but thank you really for everyone who showed support in the last post, it meant a lot. Edit: someone's comment made me realize she was still lying to me, the second time I talked to her. She changed her story about what she was spiked with, and I didn't even realize. I was not told by the hospital what she had in her system, and I'm not very knowledgeable on these substances in general. All that information I had came from Sarah. I don't even know if she was spiked against her will at all at this point. God, I'm doubting everything now. This is not the person I thought she was. I don't even care, she's out of my life now. Now for the closing comments. Yo man, this whole situation is messed up. But right now, you gotta worry about yourself and not the friends, the apartment, or even her. I know it sounds dumb, but those kinds of thoughts can turn south really quickly. Do you have a friend you can maybe crash with for a few days, or someone you can sit down and talk to? If not, feel free to reach out to me, man, even if you just want to shoot the stuff, but no one should be alone after going through something like this. Thanks, man. I have a good friend I can stay with for the time being. I really appreciate the offer. I'm still trying to put pieces back together at the moment. I'll reach out if I need to. Dude, not to be callous, but you have bigger fish to fry. She publicly claimed you mistreated her. That can go south pretty quickly. You need to consult an attorney about combating the claims she's made against you, because those could lead to criminal charges. Generally speaking, a cease and desist letter from a lawyer should be enough to get her to take things off of social media and revoke the claims. Best of luck. Holy smokes. While reading this, I actually thought this girl you loved is human garbage, but felt a little bad, because maybe she really was truthful. But nope, you reject her and boom, she goes nuts. I'm sorry, my man, nobody should have to endure what you're going through. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you can get over all of this someday. On a side note, the friends she did these with uncovered her. You said they were your friends as well? They are not. Consider contacting an attorney to get them to send her a cease and desist letter, because what she's doing is libel, especially the claims of emotional mistreatment. It may not miraculously recover your reputation, but it should at least stop her from saying anything else for fear of getting sued. If you have a friend you trust, get them to go stay at your apartment until Sarah leaves, because it isn't at all unlikely that she'll destroy things if left there unsupervised, if she hasn't already. No matter what though, don't go stay yourself if no one else goes with you. Never be alone with her again because she will likely claim you have worse. If you do have to communicate with her, only do so via text or email, or some other written form. If voice is the only possible way, Then put an app on your phone that records phone calls, if single-party consent is legal in your area. It's hard to recognize now, but any of your friends who believed her lies and cut you off, were never really your friends, and you'll be better off without them. Hang out with Sam more often, build a new friend group, sue her to oblivion if she damages your property or apartment. He could, and maybe should, sue her for defamation of character too. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone. Relationship advice. Update. My fiancée, 30 female, and I, 36 male, are having serious issues after her sister interfered with my family's issues. Original story. My fiancé and I have been together 3.5 years, engaged for 18 months and getting married in May. I thought things were wonderful, but we have hit a major problem. I work in the shipping industry and was away from home for the majority of this. Sorry for the long post, got a lot of background that led to this. A little background, my sister and fiancé were best friends through our relationship. I'm very close with my sister and my parents. My fiancé is very close with her sister, and we thought of everyone as our own families. Recently this last year, my sister left her mentally abusive husband for another guy. Her new guy has a bad past and criminal record, and rightfully so, everyone is skeptical of the guy. But my sister's relationship with her new boyfriend is a whole other thing, that I'm not gonna get into, not my business as long as she is safe and happy. Since she has been with this new guy, my fiancé has been very vocal about her opinion of him, that he is a criminal. This has put a strain on their friendship of course. A little over 3 weeks ago, while going over wedding planning, my fiancée told me she did not want my sister's boyfriend at any of our wedding festivities. She said she was going to approach my sister about it. A few days later, she was afraid to and asked me to confront her about this. I told her I would handle it. Knowing this request would hurt my sister's feelings, I asked my mom for advice on how to handle the situation and how best to approach my sister about this. My mother became upset over it, and was afraid that if I asked my sister this, it would hurt my relationship with my sister. I knew it would hurt feelings, but I wanted to try and find a compromise somewhere in all this. After the conversation with my mom, I told my fiancé how it went, and that it upset my mom. I wanted to give everyone time to cool off, as we still have 3 months till wedding date. I asked my fiancé to please be patient as this was not an easy subject to approach. My fiancé was none too happy about my mom's reaction, and was upset as well. Later that night, my fiancé and her sister had a long FaceTime call, and vented to her about her frustrations. This becomes a problem later. A few days pass, unbeknownst to me my mom had a chat with my sister and agreed to not bring her boyfriend. At this point, they hadn't told either my fiancé or I about it. Then my sister's ex-husband receives an anonymous message on Facebook telling him how my sister cheated on him, and left him for a criminal. It was full of half-truths and assumptions, and coincidentally the few truths it included, were things my sister had only ever told 2 people, my mom and my fiancé. Once the ex-husband told me about the message, crap hit the fan. Next day, I was unaware of the anonymous message until my fiancé told me she had to tell me something. She told me that her sister sent an anonymous message to my sister's ex-husband telling him what she thought was the truth. Fiancé says she only vented to her sister and that her sister took it upon herself to tell the ex-husband. The message included things that were only told to my mom and fiancé, so of course the number one suspect was my fiancé as the culprit of the message, but no one thought she was capable of this. I told my fiancé it would be best if her sister confessed and cleared fiancé's name. She was upset over it all, but agreed and talked to her sister. The next morning, I awoke to a crapstorm of a group text. Fiancé's sister confessed in a group chat including myself, fiancé, sister and my mother. She confessed and explained herself, and as you can expect there were a few heated words at first, but it seemed like things were being cleared up. That was until my fiancé decided that was a good idea to get drunk and tell everyone off. Well then it became just my fiancé telling my mom and my sister how horrible they are in this whole ordeal and how much my fiancé hated my sister's boyfriend. It went on for a couple hours of texts. I woke up the next morning to find out about all this. At first, I was confused and upset trying to figure out what happened and trying to keep peace between my family and fiancé. She thinks I took my family's side and not her side, when I was on her side until she had the drunken outburst. My fiancé even so much as laughed about my family being upset. This was 2 weeks ago, to the day. Over the next week we didn't talk much. A few heated words, but we agreed to give it time to cool off and try to approach this level-headed. After a week, unknown to me, my mom came by to try and talk with my fiancé over things. Fiancé was in the driveway leaving for work when my mom came by, and told her she couldn't talk right then. Later that night, fiancé sent an angry barrage of texts to my mom blaming my mom for everything. I have a sneaking suspicion that fiancé was drunk again during this. As I work on ships, I was out of town. I had gotten off work early specifically to come home and work things out, as it's difficult to do these things while away for so long. This was 11 days after the anonymous message, and I was at the airport on my way home. At this point, I thought things were calming down, and we might be able to talk it out calmly. I received several texts from fiancé about how she refused to pick me up at the airport, and wanted to stay in the guest bedroom when I got home. My parents ended up picking me up at the airport. That was when I found out about the angry texts my fiancé had sent my mom the night before. I arrived home, and had a sit-down chat with fiancé finally 3 days ago. From what she says, she has no regret and refuses to apologize for the way she acted. She sincerely thinks that her sister was right in sending the anonymous message. We both agreed to stop talking about it for the day, before one of us gets too upset and prevent it from turning into a yelling match. It's been 3 days, and we've hardly spoken to each other in the house. Myself, I can't stand by and let someone intentionally hurt my family. I have talked with my family about it. They are willing to give fiancé another chance on my behalf. My fiancé says she refuses to be anywhere near my family and thinks I have chosen their side, while I've been trying to keep peace between everyone. Is there some way I can approach this, and still keep both my family and fiancé? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Is there some way I can approach this, and still keep both my family and fiancé? Don't marry a problematic drunk who's mentally 12 years old. That's my absolute best advice in your situation. Because this type of thing tends to only gets worse. Definitely will get worse if he marries her. Pretty soon, OP may only talk and see his family once in a while because the wife still holds a grudge. Then once there are kids, she will probably use the kids to get the upper hand and kids probably won't have a relationship with his side of the family. Her true colors are coming out. Halt the wedding planning. You both need more time to come together or break up. Your fiancé disrespected you and your family. Gossiping and creating drama rather than letting you do what you both agreed to do. She is refusing to see what damage her actions did. She will drive a wedge between you and your family and then it will carry over between the two of you. There was never going to be a good reason for your sister-in-law to stir up drama with your sister's abusive ex-husband. Sorry, but your fiancé is more concerned with being right than doing right. This is not a good trait in a life partner. Yeah, just completely unnecessary drama to this extent too. I agree with others. OP, pause the wedding until you two sort this out. Maybe she'll see the light, maybe she won't, but from what you've shared she sounds awfully determined to judge others and get involved where she doesn't need to. Drunk dialing a partner's family is not freaking okay either, by the way. Jesus Christ, is she 16? I mean, do you want to keep your fiancé? She sounds like a drama llama, somebody who has no trouble burning multiple bridges in a blaze of glory. Think of how differently this could have gone if she hadn't decided to go scorched earth everywhere. She could have said, I don't feel comfortable with this guy with a criminal past at my wedding, and maybe told the sister you guys are keeping a tighter wedding budget and guest list and she can't bring A+1. Simple. Instead, she blabs some things she was probably told to keep a secret to her own sister, who then messages the ex-husband. Like, why? It's so unnecessary, and all this leads to further drama, further hurt, and now she's not admitting fault to any of it. At the very least, I would expect her to be mortified this got so out of hand and maybe blamed some of her actions on alcohol consumption, not that this excuses any of it. Your family sounds very graceful. I would just think hard if this kind of a person is somebody you truly want to spend the rest of your life with. How many more fires are you gonna find the next time you go out of town for a work thing? She is not even willing to admit fault, which is not promising this won't happen again. And again, and again. Oof. And now for the update. Well, first off, I'd like to thank each and everyone that replied to my original post. A couple of the replies were a little harsh, but looking back, that is exactly what I needed to hear. I broke up with my fiancé almost 2 weeks ago, and when we sat down to talk, she was still adamant that what her sister did was the right thing and didn't care that it hurt my family. She didn't apologize, showed no remorse or any sort of sign that she would be willing to work with me on this. This left me with no choice but to break up with her. The first couple days were quiet, a lot of crying and sleeping in different rooms, no arguing or fighting. Then she went to stay at a friend's house 2 days later, and that is when things got bad. She would purposely come back to the house only when I wasn't there, and bring her sister with her. Took a few more things from the house than we agreed upon, and her sister decided my couch was a great place to change a dirty diaper for her baby, including leaving a leaking dirty diaper on the couch for me to find. Then the next few days started a smear campaign on social media and lies told to friends. Myself, I've stayed quiet on the social media regarding the breakup and keeping my distance, trying to let things cool down. I have now blocked my now ex-fiancée on every platform, including emails, as it was nothing but her trying to drag me into an argument that would go nowhere. Thank you, kind Redditors that helped me see the light. I had a hunch that things weren't all that great, but I needed some strangers to tell me to pull my head out of my behind. If you own the place, I would suggest changing the locks ASAP. Gathering anything that was hers that she left and drop it off in front of her friend's house. And then reward yourself to feel better, watch a movie, read a new book, buy new shoes, etc. And then maybe have a family gathering with your mom, sis, and BF and buy some pizza and stuff to apologize for the craziness and hurt that your ex caused. Way ahead of you. I changed locks the day her sister changed the diaper on the couch. I'm sorry you're going through this, and I know it probably doesn't feel like it now, but you are lucky she revealed herself for who she is before the wedding. You'll have a much better life without her. What I wonder is, if looking back OP can recognize a pattern of drama with this woman. Mostly likely not aimed at him before, or he might have mentioned it, but she must have started drama on the regular with many people, including customer service people. You simply can't hide a personality like this for 3 years. So sorry you have to experience this. Just focus on how lucky you really are to have dodged that bullet. Damn, she would have been an entitled nightmare of a wife. Good for you. I hope your sister doesn't feel guilty about it. I would worry that it might happen. I've already talked with my sister about it. Apparently, there had been times in the past, ex-fiancé had gotten drunk and tried to start crap with my sister about me. My sister didn't tell me about this until after the breakup, but apparently it contributed to my sister distancing herself from my ex. I'd have a conversation with her. Please tell me when it happens. Not way later. That was included as well. Actually had to reiterate it, as in my relationship several years before this one, my sister saw red flags and didn't tell me till after the fact. I made sure and told my sister to be sure and tell me, pull your head out of your butt the minute the next relationship goes bad. Now for the next story. Update. I, 32 male, broke up with my girlfriend, 29 female, who did not accept my conditions about my family, but everyone says she is the right one and I am the messed up one. So I came here for inside thoughts. Original story. I, 32 male, did not have a long-term relationship until last year, after my mom, 58 female, and my brother, 19 male, involved into a traffic accident 9 years ago, and my brother has disabilities because of it. He has to use a wheelchair and his lower body usage is low, so when he has to walk, he needs to use a walker. He also has really unstable mood changes, due to head trauma and PTSD. This has affected my line of specialty in medicine. Before this, I was planning to be a urologist, and I am currently a physiatrist who is a fellow in algology. My dad is out of the picture since my brother is a year old. He has his own problems, deep depression, then self-ending attempts, which was understood he has done due to an actual abuse from his past. Currently his sister is his conservator, so marriage was annulled when I was 17, he can only come with my aunt. My girlfriend, 29 female, knows the situation really well and she knows that I am not separable from them. Sure, we may live in another house. But as long as I can breathe, I will take care of them. I currently live next door to them, and my girlfriend and I were thinking of getting serious, and the engagement talk have started 2 months ago. While we were talking about it, she said this last week, I love your mom and your brother, but I don't want us to be so linked to them. So I want us to move to another city and have permanent caretakers for them, or the other family members should take care of them. At first I laughed, but then she looked at me with a stern face. I thought for a minute and said with a calm voice, well, I am not leaving my brother and my mom, so, if you have any other thoughts, you can leave and we can end this right now. She was looking like she was shocked, and I again coldly told please leave. She took her stuff from my house in 10 minutes while she was whining, but I stayed put, and when she was at the door I said, I love you, but I have other commitments that is much more valuable than you. I hope you will understand this. Now all of my friends and coworkers say I am an a-hole and they think I am a robot who is emotionless. Normally I wouldn't give a damn, but everyone unanimously agreed I messed this, so I came here to take some advice on how should I navigate in future. Now for the top advice before reading the update. There's nothing wrong with you having the care of your mother and brother as a non-negotiable priority. But your communication of this to your girlfriend seemed quite abrupt and cold. You were planning on sharing and joining your lives together, then kicked her out after the first hurdle/obstacle and planning a future together rather than discussing it together. Exactly. If you want a partner in life, you need to give them the kind of respect and love you give your family, or they're not a partner. Your reaction to her made it clear to her that she's second class and always will be. OP, until you're ready to make someone else in your life equally important to your mother and brother, you are not ready for a serious relationship. That doesn't mean abandoning your family, but it does mean you have to have serious conversations instead of kicking them out at the first sign of trouble. Exactly, he's completely ignoring the fact that if he married/committed seriously to someone, they'd be his family too. But doesn't seem like he'd be willing to show the same devotion to them as he does for his original family. If you were considering getting married to your girlfriend, she is also your family. You basically told her that she is not your real family. This is the root of the problem. Which makes it clear that all her concerns that prompted this conversation are valid whether her solution was the right one. When I read the first comment, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and then it surely did. You are in the right to want to take care of your family. That's not inherently a problem, and you can obviously have a healthy relationship by balancing effort with the person you're with and communicating all of this up front. It seems like you've done all of that. Once your immediate response essentially was, "This is how it is, bug off," you became the a-hole. I think what she asked wasn't unreasonable, but I also wouldn't think it would be unreasonable for you to decline. How you declined was absolutely unreasonable. Her response to that shouldn't be too unexpected. And now for the update. I decided to talk with my ex to say sorry and sent her the original link. She said, "Wow, you did not even understand you were cold, did you?" And said, "This is something more than a devotion to your family. You are a really good person, someone who can be devoted to a goal and possibly a good doctor, but a good lover, possibly no, and I still have a life to live. Also, speak with your mother and brother. I am sure that they don't like this situation either. I hope you will find a relationship in a healthy setting, but please work on yourself. You are not ready for an later at the moment. Goodbye." After that, I spoke with my mother and she slapped me with her words. Honestly, good for her. His condition is something I am learning to manage, and you do not have to be a part-time dad to him. He did not feel any kind of absence in a father figure because you were there for him, even before the accident. I know this is gonna be hard, but you need to live your own life for a while, without us, but also without someone. You never had your own personality or goals. It always evolved around someone, and honestly, it is not normal. When you were young, you were so hard to approach and acted like a 40-year-old when you were 20. Honey, you are in your 30s and you still have a long life to live. You can't devote yourself to one thing. Sure, it will be good to have a support from you, but you can help us in other ways. We will be fine. And my brother was silently nodding to everything she said. They decided to move to a different district in our city, which is 35 minutes away, and I will go to them once a week. They are moving next week and they will handle by themselves, their wish. Also, I asked my clinical supervisor for a 3-month unpaid leave. He said about time, and I got in contact with a psychiatrist who is also a psychoanalyst, and I will have daily sessions to start my psychoanalysis. Last post was like a cold water for me, and honestly, I did not know I had so much to improve. Thank you everyone. Now for some comments. It sounds like your girlfriend and mom talked about this before your girlfriend brought it up to you. Your mom was hoping the girlfriend would get your situation straightened and it would resolve itself. I hope you know that you were not in the right here. Both your mom and girlfriend agreed your obsession with them was unhealthy. From this and the way you worded "I have commitments more valuable than you" to your future wife, I think you might have been committed to the idea of dedicating your life to your mother and brother more so than actually them. You might be on the spectrum since you have very binary ideas of good/bad, what to do/what not to do. I agree you should not pursue another relationship before understanding what went wrong here. This type of binary thinking isn't exactly uncommon amongst physicians and can be beneficial to your career. Example, when you have very tough decisions to make that otherwise might be clouded by emotion. Also, sending someone the Reddit post about them is almost never the right move. At best, it's you're talking about them online with a bunch of strangers. Another important lesson here is to avoid making life-changing decisions in the heat of the moment. You literally went from 60 to 0 in 5 seconds. A smart decision maker buys time. This may be a serious problem for our relationship. Let's talk this through. By being impulsive. Well, I'm sorry. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone. Relationship advice. Update. My fiancé and I agreed to have an open relationship a year ago, but I want to close it because I suspect he is secretly forming an emotional relationship with one woman he's been physical with. Original post. My fiancé and I agreed to open our relationship last year. He's 30 and I'm 28. We agreed the rules would be that we could sleep with others, but we would only have an emotional relationship with each other. We are due to marry this summer. I have decided that I no longer wish to continue and want to close the relationship because I feel that it's affecting our relationship. I'm still determining how to do this. I have had purely physical relationships with 4 men and that was it. Nothing more. He was having intercourse with around 4 or 5 women, but there was nothing more to it. I have now discovered that he has been sleeping with just one woman for at least 3 months. After some snooping over a day or two, I have found evidence that he is meeting her for evenings out and lunch. He WhatsApps her daily. He is emotionally involved. I'm still unsure to what extent, but I'm furious because I have now found that he is taking her on a work trip with him. He never said that he was not traveling alone. I have to put a stop to this before it happens. I want him to end it with her. I've had enough. How do I confront him? He's violated what we agreed on and we must stop. I don't want to marry him knowing he's emotionally attached to another woman. We promised each other that we would put each other first. Now for the top advice before reading the update. What a disaster. It's over, Johnny. Start over again clean with someone new, never make the same mistake again. The relationship is over. There's no closing it or acting like it never happened. Go forward with marriage at your own peril. If he cuts her out now, we could move past it together. I will confront him when I see him tonight. Nope. You're trying to control something that is already way out of your control. You shouldn't be marrying anyone and you shouldn't be with this guy. Break it off, learn from your mistakes, and don't get married until you're ready to be with one person for the rest of your life. Realize that bringing other partners in doesn't solve the issues that you need to solve. Well, it's too late now. Your relationship is toast. Well played. It certainly feels like that. But I will only know for sure when he and I meet this evening. You wanted an open relationship where you got to swap hooks on the regular. And you are upset he is working his magic? Damn. I am not upset at him for having physical relationships. I'm upset that he formed an emotional relationship, which we clearly agreed wouldn't happen. You know how ridiculous you sound right now? You are on the cook merry-go-round and you are upset about his game? What game? We agreed we would only have physical relationships. He violated what we agreed on. How is that okay? I didn't have an emotional relationship with other men and didn't violate his trust. You don't get it. He must have been hurt when you proposed to have some F-buddies? And now for the update. The problems in my relationship with my fiancé in a thread on Friday, a day or so after discovering my fiancé's emotional affair with a woman he initially had a physical relationship with. We have had an open relationship since last year, although initially we were exclusive. He went to her place on Friday after work, and said he'll return on Saturday. However, he informed me on Saturday that he'll return on Sunday. I asked him why, and he said that this woman was ill and had a migraine coming on, so he wanted to ensure that she was fine before he left her place. I told him that I knew he was BSing and making excuses, as she doesn't need him to hang around with her to recover from a migraine. He said he was not lying, and that she was truly unwell. He promised to return by Sunday afternoon, which he did. I told him soon after that I knew what he was up to. I knew all that was going on and the extent of his romantic relationship with her, which we both agreed was off limits. We were only allowed to have actual partners and no emotional relationships with others. He was somewhat surprised that I knew the details about his trips and evenings out with her, and I admitted to him that I had in fact looked at his email and WhatsApp messages. He was furious and refused to talk further, but then I told him I knew he was hiding something and I needed to know what he was up to. He calmed down and then came up to me and told me that he had been thinking about us and had come to the conclusion that he did not want to marry me. I asked him if he was calling off the engagement. He said he was done with the relationship altogether. After arguing over this, and his cheating, he admitted that his decision was linked to his relationship with this woman. He said that he was indeed in love with her now and accepted that he had cut out all other partners because he was emotionally involved with her. He even went to the extent of saying that he felt very loved when with her, that it meant the world to him that he was the only man in her life, and she was fully and completely focused on him. He added that he wanted to be able to reciprocate and had therefore decided that he was going to do just that and commit to her. I said I wanted to close the relationship and be only with him and that I had realized that the open relationship was not working for us. He said no, because he felt unable to end his relationship with her, and that he simply did not care to try with me anymore as everything had changed far too much. I reminded him that he agreed to open the relationship and was sleeping with several women. Now he was blaming me for what was mutually agreed. He said he wasn't blaming anyone, and that he thought it would work out fine, but after a while it all started feeling empty and he felt pathetic sleeping around with others. He said it felt meaningless and that he felt like crap. He said he didn't want a life like that and he wanted and preferred complete commitment. He did not apologize for his decision and emotionally cheating behind my back. I told him that he was ending years of commitment and an engagement for a 3-month fling, and he snapped that it wasn't a fling. I couldn't believe he was speaking this way, very cold and indifferent towards me. He didn't outright say it, but he is seriously considering moving in with her. After only 3 months. I feel devastated, but the way he spoke to me has left me feeling empty. I don't know whether to wait for him to wake up and see that he's rushing this relationship with her and abruptly walking out on our life and home together, or to let him go and see if he ever comes back to me. I know that pushing him will serve little purpose, as he is determined to stay with her for now. What do I even do? I feel too shocked and confused to react to anything, and spent the entire night awake, trying to work out what happens now. We were due to marry later this year. I can't even bear to think about canceling what we'd planned for our future, and telling people that it's off. I have so much on my mind and I am struggling to cope. Edited to add, should I be telling the other woman that he was engaged? I'm not sure if she is aware of it. Now for some comments. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. It meant the world to him that he was the only man in her life and she was fully and completely focused on him. That is completely understandable. I wish him luck. Ooh, opened the relationship, and he closed it. You were just on the other side of the door when he slammed it in your face. How does it make you feel to think about him taking this woman out for a romantic candlelit meal, full of sweet tender moments? Does it make you feel sick to your stomach, heartbroken? Because when you implied he's not enough for you by asking to sleep with other guys, that's how he felt. From a purely rational perspective, he was better off finding someone and staying with you by saying yes, because you also implied there was someone in mind you wanted to sleep with, which I haven't seen you say in either thread. No, it's not the most ethical way, but that's the best way for him, and you made it clear an open relationship is what was best for you because you'd done it before, so he felt like that was the correct thing to do. You also never were there emotionally for him despite you saying no emotional attachments allowed outside of your relationship, so he found someone else who, in his own words, had him as the only man in his life. You can't do anything to get him back, and you shouldn't. Because your selfishness and neglect led to this, and he, while not blameless, is much less at fault than you hear. Let him leave and be happy, and don't try contacting the other woman, because she definitely is closer to him than you are now. Yeah, agree with all this, and OP continues to try and justify herself by saying, but then he shouldn't have agreed. I would never have messed around if he had said no, etc., etc. I roll. Good for him. He dodged a bullet. Dodged a nuke. I think maybe you aren't hearing what he is saying. The relationship was opened up, when it wasn't working out his self-worth deteriorated, and that wasn't communicated. Sounds like it really hurt him. I'm not sure it sounds like you have the choice to close the relationship anymore. Considering how dense OP is, I can't help but also look at today's date, April 1st. I hope this is a work in the end, because if it's not, then it's creepy knowing someone like this is out there. Thank you for belittling my problems because you don't agree with how I've carried out my relationship. Now for the next story. I, 20 female, pushed my, 19 male, boyfriend into an open relationship, and now I'm afraid he's gonna leave me. So basically the title says it all. I've been dating my boyfriend for almost 3 years now. We started dating in high school. Our intimate life was really amazing, but recently it had begun to lose its spark. My best friend at the time told me that the only way to fix the relationship is by opening it up. So I sat down with my boyfriend and explained what an open relationship was. I was really excited because it was a new experience. My boyfriend obviously wasn't really big on the whole idea. Literally a week of convincing and explaining the pros and cons to him, he finally agreed. It did seem like he didn't want to, as he said it will permanently change our relationship. So we opened the relationship and it's been a few months, and I have been sleeping with one of my co-workers, no feelings or anything like that involved, and it has been fun, but I missed sleeping with my boyfriend, and honestly wanted to end the open relationship and go back to monogamy. However, now I found out that my boyfriend is first off, sleeping with way more people than I am. And the biggest slap in the face is a lot of these girls are from the same high school we went to. And the biggest slap of them all is that, my boyfriend is now in love with open relationship concept and I really want to back to monogamy. I don't know, I also feel really betrayed that he would sleep with people we went to high school with and girls that he told me not to worry about. Now for the top advice. Well, that backfired on you, didn't it? I realize that, but I want to go back to monogamy but feel like my boyfriend is loving this new opening up relationship. Take it from someone who done messed up once, and never will again. It doesn't work, a majority of the time. As I like to say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I like the saying at the end. It completely fits my life right now. You were not betrayed. You asked for this, you literally pressured him into it. And now you're salty that it's actually working out for him. You've opened Pandora's box, and while you can try to ask for the relationship to be closed up again, it's unlikely he will agree to this because he's happy with the way things are now. You may be stuck with laying in the bed you made, or the relationship will collapse. Your friend gave you incredibly bad advice. There are plenty of ways to spice up a relationship, and they told you to take the nuclear option that destroys many relationships that can't handle it. Unfortunately, I would have to agree. As much as I hate to admit this, I did end up taking the biggest option when we should have just started small and work our way up to the open relationship, isn't of starting off with it like I did. Should have laid down more grown rules at the beginning. Can't put the genie back in the bottle now, might as well just end it. And for the record, open relationships aren't the only method to cure boredom in the bedroom. Do you think he's just gonna leave me now? I mean, everything has been good and the same despite how I'm feeling. If you tell him you don't want an open relationship anymore, he likely will. He will end the open relationship? Nah, he likes getting laid and also having you at home. You done messed up. Now for the last story. Me, 29 female, with my boyfriend, 31 male, of 2 years not happy with our open relationship, and his new girlfriend, 24 female. I'll try and keep this short. After dating for a year and a half, I had the tough talk of proposing an open relationship to my boyfriend. I was the one who suggested it, not because I wasn't satisfied with him, but because I felt like I missed the thrill of flirting in new relationships, and knew I couldn't recreate that with him. We agreed on a few ground rules. We could both have one extra playmate at a time, FWBs only, no one-night stands, they couldn't be anyone already in our lives. We couldn't see them more than once a week without the other's permission. No bringing them home without the other's permission. For a while it was great, I felt like I got to scratch the itch I needed, and frankly didn't sleep with that many people. Really just went on dates and made out, maybe hooking up if I felt a connection. But then he started seeing Christine. He was very open about meeting her and going out and followed all of our rules pretty much to the word. But he hasn't stopped seeing her. I tried to move on from someone after a couple weeks to avoid getting attached, but he's been seeing Christine for 4 months now. 2 weeks ago, he mentioned that she wanted to have a threesome with us, so I agreed to get coffee with her, without him present, to see if I felt a connection too. It honestly made me really angry to meet her. I left the date early and told my boyfriend no. When I floated the idea of having a threesome with my FWB and him, he flat out said no, and wouldn't even agree to meet him even though I met his. I don't even care about the open relationship anymore. Is there any way to close things up again and move on from this? Some general words of advice. Treat others how you would like to be treated. You can't eat your cake then have it, too. And, for the very vast majority of people, open relationships are a terrible idea. You selfishly ask for an open relationship. Hint, it's selfish because it was all about you scratching your itch, not exploring something with your partner. When your boyfriend follows the rules you set, you selfishly decide you want to close it because of your jealousy. This makes me think you aren't emotionally capable of having either a healthy open relationship, or a healthy closed one. Yeah. This post is an almost perfect stereotype of how open relationships often progress. For the average guy, the hardest part about opening a relationship is his partner physically having intimacy with other men. For the average woman, the hardest part of the open relationships is dealing with the emotional connection that her man makes with other women. The beginning of the open relationship, when both partners start to hook up with other people, is usually much harder for the man. This is when he has to do the majority of his emotional work. The woman often finds this part comparatively easy and is very high on the non-monogamous lifestyle at this time. The woman usually first starts to deal with difficult feelings when her man begins to really bond with another partner. This is usually the time when she needs to do her challenging emotional work. Often, the woman will demand to close the relationship at this time instead of dealing with the emotions that her partner has already had to deal with. It's also common at this point for the woman to use vetoes, new restrictive rules, and other manipulations to try and keep the open relationship effectively one-sided. You can't suggest an open relationship and then be mad when he has an open relationship. The very reason you are mad is why this is a bad idea in the first place. For some, feelings get caught and not everyone wants casual intercourse with strangers. Otherwise, why be in a relationship in the first place? I'm not sure if they've got feelings for each other. I didn't get that vibe. Just out of curiosity, why did meeting her make you really angry? Was it something about her or just the fact that you were going out of your way when he wouldn't? Honestly, she's not the type of girl I thought my boyfriend was into at all. I'm taller and a little on the big side, not fat mind you, just built. I do a lot of hiking and climbing, and this girl is super tiny, no muscle, push-up bra, etc. Typical cute girl. I know that makes me sound really jealous about her looks, but it's not that I think she's prettier than I am. It's just the idea that the girl he picked to be his FWB is not what I expected at all. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone. Bringing them home without the other's permission. For a while it was great. I felt like I got to scratch the itch I needed, and frankly didn't sleep with that many people. Really just went on dates and made out, maybe hooking up if I felt a connection. But then he started seeing Christine. He was very open about meeting her and going out and followed all of our rules pretty much to the word. But he hasn't stopped seeing her. I tried to move on from someone after a couple weeks to avoid getting attached, but he's been seeing Christine for 4 months now. 2 weeks ago, he mentioned that she wanted to have a threesome with us, so I agreed to get coffee with her, without him present, to see if I felt a connection too. It honestly made me really angry to meet her. I left the date early and told my boyfriend no. When I floated the idea of having a threesome with my FWB and him, he flat out said no, and wouldn't even agree to meet him even though I met his. I don't even care about the open relationship anymore. Is there any way to close things up again and move on from this? Some general words of advice. Treat others how you would like to be treated. You can't eat your cake then have it, too. And, for the very vast majority of people, open relationships are a terrible idea. You selfishly ask for an open relationship. Hint, it's selfish because it was all about you scratching your itch, not exploring something with your partner. When your boyfriend follows the rules you set, you selfishly decide you want to close it because of your jealousy. This makes me think you aren't emotionally capable of having either a healthy open relationship, or a healthy closed one. Yeah. This post is an almost perfect stereotype of how open relationships often progress. For the average guy, the hardest part about opening a relationship is his partner physically having intimacy with other men. For the average woman, the hardest part of the open relationships is dealing with the emotional connection that her man makes with other women. The beginning of the open relationship, when both partners start to hook up with other people, is usually much harder for the man. This is when he has to do the majority of his emotional work. The woman often finds this part comparatively easy and is very high on the non-monogamous lifestyle at this time. The woman usually first starts to deal with difficult feelings when her man begins to really bond with another partner. This is usually the time when she needs to do her challenging emotional work. Often, the woman will demand to close the relationship at this time instead of dealing with the emotions that her partner has already had to deal with. It's also common at this point for the woman to use vetoes, new restrictive rules, and other manipulations to try and keep the open relationship effectively one-sided. You can't suggest an open relationship and then be mad when he has an open relationship. The very reason you are mad is why this is a bad idea in the first place. For some, feelings get caught and not everyone wants casual intercourse with strangers. Otherwise, why be in a relationship in the first place? I'm not sure if they've got feelings for each other. I didn't get that vibe. Just out of curiosity, why did meeting her make you really angry? Was it something about her or just the fact that you were going out of your way when he wouldn't? Honestly, she's not the type of girl I thought my boyfriend was into at all. I'm taller and a little on the big side, not fat mind you, just built. I do a lot of hiking and climbing, and this girl is super tiny, no muscle, push-up bra, etc. Typical cute girl. I know that makes me sound really jealous about her looks, but it's not that I think she's prettier than I am. It's just the idea that the girl he picked to be his FWB is not what I expected at all. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.